Hey guys, Dr. Whitney Bowe here, board certified dermatologist, and I'm going to talk to you in this video about 5 preservatives that I try to avoid in my skincare products and my cosmetics. So number 1 is parabens. I'm sure you guys have heard of parabens. They're considered hormone disruptors. They mimic estrogen in the human body. We've detected parabens in breast cancer tissue, and yes, those studies imply more of a correlation than, say, a causation. But the truth of the matter is, I personally just can't ignore that data. So I do try to avoid parabens whenever possible. Now, I do have some people coming to me and say, well, isn't it the dose that makes the poison? Like if we just have a little bit of a paraben here, a little bit of a paraben there, is that really a big deal? Well, when it comes to hormone disrupting chemicals, actually, yes, it really is a big deal. In fact, the lower doses can do more harm. When you get really high doses of, say, potential hormone disruptors, the body immediately recognizes that as not being physiologic. It's not normally what it would see. So it's sort of like, oh, there's something off about this. I'm going to ignore this signal. But when the body is exposed to small doses of hormone disrupting chemicals throughout the day, such as the kind of doses that we would layer in our skincare products and use in our personal care products, such as our shampoos, our body washes, etc., that's when it can actually do the most harm, because the body's like, oh, this kind of looks normal. This kind of looks like a dose that I would usually see. And that's when it can actually, do the damage. Preservative number 2 that I like to try to avoid in skincare products is something called methyl isothiazolinone. And it actually became really popular when parabens started getting a bad rap and people started replacing it with this other ingredient. And it's a great preservative, but unfortunately it's a known skin irritant and skin allergen, and it's potentially neurotoxic. So that's one that I try to avoid as well. So next we have formaldehyde and formaldehyde releasers. So formaldehyde is a known carcinogen, which sort of gives me the chills thinking about just how much I was exposed to it when I was dissecting cadavers in medical school. So formaldehyde you really want to avoid, and what a lot of people don't realize is that oftentimes you don't see the word formaldehyde on the label, but you'll see formaldehyde releasers. So things like DMDM-hydantoin, and what those ingredients are doing is that they're slowly releasing formaldehyde over time. So I do try to avoid those whenever possible. So next we have butylated hydroxyanazole, which is a preservative that's been linked to hormone disruption. It's been considered a potential carcinogen, and it's been linked to skin irritation as well. Now, this is one that's a little bit tricky because a lot of the retinols that are formulated are made and preserved with this ingredient. And so the person who's making the brand that's making the retinol will sort of get the ingredient from the supplier and it'll have this preservative in it, but then that company doesn't actually have to disclose on its INCI list, on its ingredient label, that it's preserved with that preservative. It's sort of considered like a pre-preservative. So in that case, you as the consumer may not even know that you're being exposed to it unless the company and the brand is really open about their clean beauty practices and their dirty list. So if you see, BHA on their dirty list, that's a good sign. Last, I try to avoid what are called quats, such as benzalkonium chloride. And that's a tricky one because I really try to avoid it more in skincare products that are a leave-on because it's a known skin irritant. But you often will find those ingredients in hair conditioning products. And right now there aren't really a lot of great alternatives that give that same sort of conditioning feel to the hair. So that's one that's a little bit more difficult to avoid altogether. So guys, I hope you found this video helpful, and be sure to check out my playlist on skincare and at-home tools. All right, see you soon.